In the beginning, there was 16mm and 8mm movie film. Yes, literally. And for audio, we had those wonderful 8-track cartridges. So not much need for common technical standards in those early days. But as we moved inexorably from analog to digital, the need to establish common technical standards for encoding content, for example, became ever more apparent. The Apex Technical Committee has, over the years, established a number of very important technical standards, and as more and more technology appears on aircraft, the work of the TC, as it's now known, seems more important than ever. Apex now has its very own technical director, Bryan Rusenko, and he joins us today to talk about the work of the TC and, more importantly, how you can become involved. Bryan.
Hello, Steve.
Nice to see you.
Very good to be here
Last
today.
time you and I got together for one of these interviews, you were at Crest, one of our competitors. Now here you are, Apex Technical Director. How did you get from A to B?
Through T.
Okay, explain.
So from C, I went to Technicolor.
Yeah.
And started the in-flight IFE services technical division over there, which was very successful in some regards, but in other regards, I had served my purpose and moved on. During the time that I was post-Technicolor, I realized, talking with Michael Childers, that Apex needs really a full-time dedicated resource, sort of on staff, somebody who understands the technology, somebody who speaks it. Hopefully I also fill the role as somebody who's been around and seen a lot of this stuff go on and knows the background and knows the people involved. So that's where Apex engaged me to be, as on a part-time basis, technical director for the association.
So what does that role mean? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
I am responsible for, looking after some of the standards, deciding what's outdated, what needs to be updated, answering member questions, being a resource for the members, being a neutral resource where people can come and say, so what are all the different sides of this? As opposed to maybe what the resource I used to be, which was, here's what my company thinks about this. So I very much enjoy being the neutral answer person. Also participating in the working groups and the technology committee, working on the closed caption working group right now. Was one of the authors of the white paper, was engaged to draft that, do some research and do some of the background, and be a writer as well. So collaboratively writing this with Michael Childers and John Norris and the other people involved.
What are the hot topics of the moment?
Well, the hottest topic right now is closed captions. Closed captions because the U.S. Department of Transportation has decided that they're going to do something in the way of mandating closed captions. And so we have at Apex prepared as an industry a white paper response that says, here are some of the concerns and some of the things that impact this and shape the way we are able to deliver this, and some of the things that we must, as an industry or as individual companies, achieve before this is possible. Some of the people who were asking this question, the disabled community, hearing impaired and others, were under the impression, as they were in 2006 when this came up, that simply there's a closed caption switch, and if they just flip it on, then we'll get our captions. But with in-flight entertainment, onboard equipment, there is not that capability. And the supply chain of how programs get from a movie studio master all through the different companies involved, through the different processes involved, through the different editing involved, to get to the passenger means it's a very different delivery channel than putting it on an network TV or putting it on the internet, now that the internet is mandated to have closed captions.
Now, Bryan, I want to take you back to the very early days, the inception of the technical committee, because this is quite a beast and it's grown over the years. But at the recent TC meeting, you did a very excellent review of all the work of the TC over the years.
Thank you.
How did it come into being?
That slightly predates me. When I joined the WAA at the time, Apex, there already was a group of people who met a couple of times a year to talk about these issues. And I don't know the actual origins of it. You should ask Rich Salter, who probably was there.
Yeah.
But when I joined, there were not that many issues to talk about until 1989, when we came up with the idea that we could have an impact on the way audio is presented. And that was the very first WAEA, now APEX specification, was tailoring audio for in-flight consumption.
Now, what's the function of the TC these days?
To do a variety of different things, to educate our members, to provide a forum for coming together to discuss common interests, to pursue outside information to come into our community, to do education through that way, to be a forum for discussion, and to pursue standards and even just recommended practices or white papers when those are appropriate. So basically to be the place where that part of our industry that deals with technology comes together to have a conversation.
Now, over the years, I happen to know that there have been many, many papers have been written and many reports drawn up, standards established. How can I, as a member of APEX, how can I access all this wealth of technical information?
In the APEX website, under the members only section, and you have to know your login to do this, I presume you know your login and password.
Absolutely.
You'll find that there are certain sections in the drop-down menus that have a little padlock next to them. One of those sections is the wealth of information in both past presentations and the APEX reference library. The reference library contains not only all the standards that we've worked on, but all of the white papers and all of the informational papers, all the requirements papers that have led to those. And say this goes back to the very first standard we developed in 1989. On through the 0395 standard, which was the first time that we set parameters and really laid out the workflow involved for a video on demand server using MPEG technology. So all of these things are collected through that working group, the DMDTC, through the Internet Working Group, through the many other working groups that are represented there, the Next Generation Cabin Wiring Group. All of this stuff is on the website. And additionally on the website are a lot of the articles that appeared in Avion magazine over the years.
Oh, really?
So some of the technology committee reports were done as an explainer or an informational article about a topic that was current at the time. And a lot of those have been collected now, and they're available as PDFs for viewing and download by the members as well. So the key is to go to the website, find the members only login, and then look for the information under the interesting stuff. Technology committee standards, finished standards, are all available in the public area because that's something we want the whole world to know about.
Now, I've attended a number of TC meetings over the years. I've just used an acronym, TC. And they're full of these strange sounding acronyms, and I sit there scratching my head sometimes thinking, what the hell are they talking about? How can you make technology more accessible to more people that really perhaps don't understand the difference between kilobytes and megabytes?
Are you talking about the simultaneous translation app for your smartphone that will tell you what we're talking about?
Oh, tell me. I want to download it.
It hasn't been developed yet, but it is frankly another language that as you come as a member and become more conversant with this stuff, it's just another language that you learn. One of my colleagues at Crest, who is in sales, one of your colleagues now, started out with just listening to this stuff, but over the years you pick it up and it's a language, and you then become familiar with the terms, and it's just a vocabulary. So on the first listen, you may not know what they're talking about. Hopefully by the end of the next meeting that you do. So we do have at various places a glossary, kind of lookup, list of terms, list of acronyms. Wade Hannibal had put one together years ago that's still very, very valuable. That's on the APEX website too. Look for that sort of thing, or nudge somebody and ask them what they're talking about.
Next question, how can people get involved?
First thing to do is to just show up and say, I'm part of the committee. The technology committee is unlike any of the other committees at APEX. Most committees you have to sign up at the beginning of a term and after the annual conference and the elections and be part of that. Technology committee is a core leadership group, but it's always in flux, and whoever comes to the meeting is considered as part of the committee. This is the members can be. So the first thing to do is to just show up. Send something that expresses what you want to talk about, your interests. Call one of the leadership or myself and say, I'd like to know more about this. But it's a very easy process to just come and be part of it.
And typically at a TC meeting, how many people do show up?
Usually around 100 to 120 people. We've been surprised at some meetings where we've had 200 and overbooked the rooms. When we used to have them in the theater at Technicolor, it seated 155 people, and we were standing room only once going there, so it can be that many. And it's very much topic driven. We have gone from technology committees of 10 years ago, where it was all about movies, MPEG, and video on demand, to now it's all IFEC, and the communications and the data and the networking and the internet portion of it is very much an important part of it. So what we find at the meetings are, they're the group that shows up for this half day, this full day, and then they're the people that show up for all of the days. So we'll have a different group at different sessions because there are that many varied interests represented at the meeting.
All a very far cry from those early days of 16mm and 8mm film and 8-track cartridges.
Oh,
Gosh, haven't we come a long way over the years?
We have. It's all digital, which means hopefully nothing wears out. But something about being able to hold the media, is something that has gone away.
Oh, yeah. I'll come over all nostalgic in a minute. Bryan,
okay.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And,
thank you for the invitation.
Hey, good luck in your new position.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, Steve Harvey brings you another informative and interesting interview with a leading professional from the ranks of our in-flight entertainment industry. Don't miss it. That's next time on the PME Interview.